Welcome back, everyone, to Ask the Expert here on Open Line. We are so excited to have the folks from Creekside Assisted Living joining me this evening. We've got Claudia and Lori tonight, and we've talked about so much tonight. And before the break, we were actually talking about how you can kind of tweak and change holiday traditions as we age and as elements of our life progress and people move away and things change. As I said, we got to kind of readjust. So I'll let you get back into that.
Right. Okay. Well, first off, when we have, on Christmas morning, our residents are going to have Belgian waffles and the breakfast casserole, and so they'll have a big Christmas breakfast for all the folks that are still there.
Just like they would have had at home.
Yep. Well, not at my home. They wouldn't have had Belgian waffles.
Well, they might at mine, but that's okay.
Mine either.
But, and then for lunch, I know our lunch menu because I went over it with the chef actually this morning. They have two choices. They can have prime rib, or they can have lamb chops. And then we've got baked asparagus and au gratin potatoes, and I've forgotten there's a couple of different pie choices.
Sounds wonderful.
Pumpkin pie. Everybody likes most people like pumpkin pie. They've got a couple of choices. So, and then dinner will be a little bit lighter for them. But they'll have a big, they'll have a big Christmas celebration on Christmas Day. And also, we're talking during the break that a lot of times, as traditions, as you change your family traditions, with a lot of our residents, we've got several areas that families can reserve and bring Christmas to mom or to dad. And we have several families that'll do that. Maybe there's a big family, that they're all from out of town. And like I told you, the nice thing is you don't have to decorate. We've done that for you. You've got the trees and the garland and all of those types of things. And then also too, it's also another way that families that have a loved one that has a dementia or Alzheimer's can again bring it down smaller. Mom's still in her comfort zone, in that little cocoon that's very comfortable to them at this point. And families can come in and still have, just because we have to change, doesn't mean that it still can't be enjoyable for everybody. It's just that we have to learn to adapt.
And you all have really thought of everything. There's just so many factors and ideas and just little things that you've done to really make being a resident at Creekside Assisted Living special.
And what I love about the Christmas breakfast and the Christmas lunch, for those folks that don't have family, that don't take them out, because a lot of our residents do go out for the holiday, and for the ones that are left behind, it still gets to be like home. They've still got that breakfast, they've still got that big dinner. It's still their special, and they're with each other, and they still have all the decorations, and they're with their new family. Because as traditions change, Creekside becomes new family. Your friends become your family that you're choosing for yourself at that point.
Exactly. We've talked a lot about tonight some things to look out for, things to be aware of, whether it's the changes in one of your loved ones, even just minor things. Another thing to really keep an eye on this year is you and I were talking about before the show, just depression. It's just greater this time of year, really for everyone, but not excluding seniors.
No, not at all.
Absolutely.
A lot of people may know, but around holidays, especially major holidays like Thanksgiving and in particular Christmas, just overall for in general, this is the suicide rate is higher at this time of year than any other time of year, and depression for lots of different reasons, and seniors are not excluded from that. And depression is something that we really, if we notice changes in folks, we really try to stay tuned into that, because again, I was talking earlier with a resident who was, he's normally real friendly and talks a lot, and he was, I could tell he was just kind of down in the dumps, and so he just said, I'll be glad when this is over. And he said, this is such a hard time for me. He said, I lost my wife this year. And he said, I just keep thinking about the things that we used to do. And he said, it's not the same anymore. and he said, you know, this is really hard for me. And that is not uncommon at all. We hear a lot of folks with that sentiment. Now, another thing that we offer is we do have, of course, we have nurses 24/7. We have a nurse practitioner that comes in twice a week, and we also have a geri psych nurse practitioner that comes every week. And so a lot of times, you know, it might be just a matter of her talking to somebody and spending some time talking with them. But if it turns out that, you know, that maybe medication is involved on some level, then we've just got a lot of resources to offer, plus just, you know, a hug goes a long way.
Oh, yes, it sure does.
And so a lot of times it's just, in fact, with this particular person, I told a couple of our caregivers, I said, look, you know, Miss Harris is really depressed right now. You know, would you just kind of keep an eye on her, and you know, and just give her a little extra attention. And they're like, oh wow, okay. So, you know, you've got a lot of different support, but I think it's really important that we remember how significant depression can be this time of year for folks.
Wonderful that you all and your staff is keeping a close eye on that for the folks that live there. What about folks who maybe their loved one is not in an assisted living facility like Creekside? What can we all do to better recognize and pay close attention to something like depression in seniors or anyone in our life this time of year? As you said, it's on the rise for everyone.
Yes.
Go ahead. I think listening, family, friends, if they belong to a church group, if you notice someone that suddenly was happy, was in a great mood, and suddenly their mood is less, their appetite is less, they're doing things that are not normal, like suddenly, you know, mom went from, you know, or my friend went from always dressing up and being so pristine to kind of not caring anymore and is just acting different, dressing different, talking different. Those are resources that you seek out and you talk to them.
Making excuses.
Absolutely,
you know,
to not visit.
or well, I don't feel like you're coming over today, or, you know, becoming reclusive. And as odd as this may sound, if you go and suddenly you notice all the blinds are closed, and maybe there is no TV or there is no radio, it's just like this person is sitting, you know, in this dark cave, lights not even being on, but sometimes the changes are very subtle. And just because you know a person, you can pick up on those subtle changes, and sometimes they're not. I don't think if someone really reaches out and says, I'm depressed, or especially if, you know, that, oh, I just want to die. I mean, I think we don't ignore that. You know, we have to pay attention, whether it's a friend, a family member, no matter where they are, to those things.
What do we do? How do we start that conversation with them? Do we call someone for help, maybe a professional, or do we handle it ourselves? Just advice for folks, you know, maybe watching tonight.
That depends on the severity of the situation.
So and if there's family involved that you could reach out to. Like if they have a son, a daughter, that even if they live out of town, reach out to them, or maybe somebody within their church, their clergy, a minister, or someone that could be helpful.
That brings up something else, that when she said that, because, you know, we do have a lot of residents that families don't get to come and visit. And I guess you don't, when people think about assisted living, they just think, oh, well, everybody's got family close and always there, and that's not necessarily true. We get a lot of calls, or quite a few calls, from church groups, or actually just people that call and say, my kids and I, or our group, would like to know if you can share with us some of your residents that don't have family, and we could adopt them. We could bring gifts. We could, you know, are there things that you could suggest, and can we bring some things to residents that maybe won't have family visiting?
We actually have a family that had their mom and dad both at Creekside, some of my favorite people in the entire planet. They were in memory care and in assisted living, and she called and she said, you know, as a tradition just to keep my parents' memory alive because of how good you all were to Creekside, she's adopted 4 of our residents that may not have gifts, and you know, she's wrapping everything, going to meet us on Christmas Eve to drop off. So I mean, it's just very, very touching.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy you mentioned that. Maybe folks tuning in tonight, that's a great way to give back this holiday season. Well, we're going to go ahead and take one more quick break. Keep it right here on Open Line.